এই লাষ্টৰ 3-4 মাহ কষ্ট কৰি পেলাই 85-90%, তাৰপিছত মেণ্টেলিটিত কি হৈ যায়, মই মেথ শিকি গ'লোঁ। একাডেমিক কো কাৰিকুলাৰ এক্টিভিটিজ মানে তোমাৰ SAT, IELTS, NEET, JEE. My threat was that I did not have money in the family. So therefore I had to overcome that threat, therefore I had to find ways. So বহুতে এতিয়া জাৰ্মানী যাব বিচাৰি আছে, আৰু ডিমাণ্ডবোৰ ইমান বাঢ়ি গ'ল that but Germany cannot admit anybody below 90%. Slowly the Indian education system is also changing. Generally, that's what I have come to believe after 10-14 years of experience of working with children.
Hi everyone. So today we have a very dear friend of mine, Abhinav Gogoi. So tumalake jodi bahirot poribo hoisa, if you want to study abroad, so you have got any questions, he is the right person to go to. So welcome Abhinav to Offstream Talks.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me here, Ranjul. Thank you so much for everyone listening in also. And I'm really, really thankful that you took this opportunity to talk about something that is very close to my heart, in terms of creating awareness for the right kind of education that we want to propagate across the Northeast.
Sure.
So and I think we've all been from that generation where we had distinct lack of awareness as to what we want to do, how we want to do it.
Sure.
And I'm glad that you brought this up today so that we can tackle some of those questions.
Absolutely. So mane prothomote moi etue khodibo bisaisu, why should one think of studying abroad?
Oh, that's a good question. Actually, firstly, of course, I want to clarify one thing, that you don't necessarily need to think of studying abroad. I think ultimately what we want to study is at the right place, where the infrastructure is awesome, faculty is very, very good. There's exclusively good research that is going on at that university or that college. And unfortunately, we don't have so many of those things happening in the Indian university system. No offense to any university there, we have awesome universities also, with the NIF top rankings and the Institute of Eminences and so on. However, I feel that we have more of those kind of universities available abroad. So when we, in order to, do very good, up-to-date, high-end, trending sort of studies, you should look at studying abroad at least for some segment of your education. If not during bachelor's, then maybe for master's. If not during master's, then maybe for your PhD.
Okay.
So in that manner, I feel that some of the universities, and that shows in terms of the rankings also, the QS rankings, the Times Higher Education rankings, it shows that some of the foreign universities are much more in the upper echelons in terms of research, in terms of faculty quality, in terms of infrastructure and so on, more than Indian universities. So I feel that way, if you can, then of course one should take that opportunity to study abroad.
If you are studying in India, we are clear you will give after 10th or after 12th, we'll go and give these exams like for medical or engineering, or if you want to go for your graduation also, you have to give CUET, or you have to look for various colleges outside. So you are that set. So if you want to study abroad, so what is the right time to start? Explore kitiaba koribo lagibo.
Right, that's again a brilliant question, and I think sometimes we get that timing incorrect when we are especially planning for studying abroad. And I see this also from my own case. When I was in grade 8 or grade 9, I think that was the time when I thought that I should be looking at avenues outside of Assam also, and not necessarily for education, but primarily because of my love for traveling. That has been my ultimate goal across, in my life so far. So, but of course my parents were teachers, and with a teacher's salary in India, you can't really think of going abroad, or even a private education in India is very difficult with a teacher's salary. Invariably we have to take up loans and things like that. So I didn't want to get that in place. I didn't want to burden my parents, and I thought the only way then, therefore, for me to travel outside of Assam or outside of India for my higher education has to be through scholarships, or grants and things like that. And for that, of course, what you need academics, you need grades and marks, and I understood that when I was in class 9.
Okay.
So, and therefore I decided that I will just study for the sake of marks. I will not care what I will study. So physics, chemistry, psychology, mathematics, history, geography, it didn't really matter. I just studied
Okay.
because I wanted to get good grades and I wanted to, fulfill my end goal of going abroad and so on. And in order to travel costs money, which I also understood. And nobody is going to pay me for me to have fun traveling. So then the best way was for me to find scholarships to study, where I can live in a country, study that, get that education from that country, and if I can get a scholarship, then things are paid for naturally. So this is how I sort of embarked on the journey of going
And
abroad.
when did you
so on.
start thinking about মানে কেতিয়া প্লাটন
I have started thinking of going abroad since class 9.
কোন স্কুলত পঢ়িছিলা ৰে
মই Assam Valley School.
Okay.
Assam Valley School.
Does that also matter কি মানে the
Yeah, so
peer group?
Of course the environment matters.
Okay.
So, I mean, we are only as strong mentally as our friend circle.
Yeah.
There's a saying like that.
Okay.
Right? Or in this case sometimes it's as strong as the family mentality.
Okay.
Only.
Sure.
So if you're among people that are thinking big,
Okay.
then naturally you will also start thinking big. So I think Assam Valley gave me that opportunity for sure, because there I met lots of people who were looking to do things that I did not think of or heard of when I was living in Namrup. Let's say when I went to a convent school,
Okay.
where it was everything by the stake and memorizing and things like that. But Assam Valley, I learned that you can also learn through doing activities. You can also learn through doing experimentation.
Yeah.
And this and I went to a IB boarding school in Pune for my 11th and 12th. I had left Assam Valley also.
Okay,
I went and studied at an international curriculum. So that also I got to know from the son of the history teacher who applied for this scholarship, but he only got half. So unfortunately he could not go. So I thought, let me give it a try, why not?
So in Assam Valley মানে around 9-10th of you are sure ki like you started knowing about studying abroad.
Yeah,
and preparing
I explored.
yourself.
Yeah, I did explore.
Okay.
I did look out for avenues to figure out how I can move across places.
Okay.
So, and that same mentality should be applied now in education also, in a young child, who's not when they're in class 6, 7, 8 or something, but at least from 9th onwards, you're actually trying to choose subject that will matter for you professionally later in life.
Okay.
From 9th আমি থাৰ্ড লেংগুৱেজটো ড্ৰপ কৰি দিওঁ, 9-10ত যোনখিনি পঢ়িছোঁ 10ৰ পিছত আমি বহুতখিনি ছাবজেক্ট ড্ৰপ কৰি পেলাই আমি ছায়েন্স বা হিউমেনিটিজ বা কমাৰ্চ বা ফাইন আৰ্টছ বা ডিজাইন এইখিনি পঢ়িবলৈ আমি চেষ্টা কৰোঁ. চ' সেইটো হিচাপত ছাবজেক্ট চিলেকশ্যন ইজ ভেৰি ইম্পৰ্টেণ্ট, উইচ ইজ হোৱাট উই কল এজ এ কনচলিডেশ্যন ষ্টেজ. চ' তাৰমানে তুমি ক্লাছ 8লৈকে যি কৰিব বিচাৰিছা তুমি চব ট্ৰাই কৰিলা. দেট ইজ দ্য আইডিয়া, ৰাইট? মানে ফুটবল খেলিব বিচাৰিছোঁ ফুটবলো খেলিলোঁ, বাস্কেটবল খেলিব বিচাৰিছোঁ বাস্কেটবল কৰিলোঁ, চুইমিং কৰিব বিচাৰিছোঁ MUN কৰিব বিচাৰিছোঁ, ডিবেটিং কৰিব বিচাৰিছোঁ, হোৱাট এভাৰ ইউ ৱান্ট টু ডু ইউ শ্বুড ডু ইট. But at some point we have to then consolidate our activities, our co-curricular activities, extracurriculars, our academic subjects, our choice of lifestyle that we want to lead forward, the choice of profession that we want to go to. আমি যোনটো ছেক্টৰত সোমাম বুলি ভাবিছোঁ, এডুকেশ্যন নে হেল্থ নে ফেশ্বন নে এণ্টাৰটেইনমেণ্ট, এই কুৱেশ্যনবোৰ আমি ছল্ভ কৰিব লাগে. এট লিষ্ট ষ্টাৰ্ট থিংকিং ইন দেট প্ৰচেছ. ত' সেইটো আমি যদি থট প্ৰচেছটো আমি শ্বৰ্ট আউট নকৰোঁ, 9
এটা জেনেৰিক আইডিয়া এটা আমি মানে যে এইটো লাইনত মই যাব বিচাৰিছোঁ,
এক্সেক্টলি সেইটো যদি নহয়, দেন invariably we make a mistake in choosing subjects in 11th and 12th. I'll give you a very interesting example. And this is from me talking to maybe 6,000 odd students across so many different schools across India, and there's a distinct problem that happens especially in grade 10th matriculation exam. So বস্তুটো কি হয় যে আমি ক্লাছ 10ৰ এক্সাম ইজ দ্য ফাৰ্ষ্ট বিগ এক্সাম ইন আৱাৰ লাইফ. আমি বহুত কষ্ট কৰোঁ, পেৰেণ্টছেওতো কষ্ট কৰিবই আৰু ষ্টুডেণ্টছেও ডেফিনেটলি কষ্ট কৰে, বাট সেই কষ্টখিনি লাষ্ট 3 বা 4 মাহতে ষ্টাৰ্ট হয় বা কৰা হয়. সেই 3-4 মাহত আমি প্ৰায় 8-9-10 ঘণ্টা আমি পঢ়োঁ, বাকী বস্তু বাদ দিওঁ. উই আৰ ওৱান ট্ৰেক মাইণ্ড যে এক্সামটো ভাল কৰিব লাগে, সেইটো ছাবজেক্টটো ভাল কৰিব, কিবা এটা যে উইক ছাবজেক্ট আছে বা মোৰ মেথ বা ছায়েন্সত, উই ৱান্ট টু ৰিয়েলি work very hard in those subjects that we improve. But think of it this way, as soon as the exams are over, ইমান ছাষ্টেইন আমি কৰিব পাৰোঁ জানো 8 বা 10 hours every day in class 11 বা class 12? It's an impossible thing. It only happens during exam. So that is where the problem occurs. So এতিয়া পেৰেণ্টছে বা ষ্টুডেণ্টছে গোটেই বছৰটো মেথছত অসুবিধা পাই আছে, 50%, 60%, 70% পাই আছে. এই লাষ্টৰ 3-4 মাহ কষ্ট কৰি পেলাই 85-90%, তাৰপিছত মেণ্টেলিটিত কি হয় যে মই মেথ শিকি গ'লোঁ বা মই ছায়েন্স শিকি গ'লোঁ,
তেতিয়া তেওঁলোকে মানে ইনভেৰিয়েবলি
ছায়েন্সে কৰিম বা হেৰি কৰিম, কিন্তু পাহৰি যায় যে মানে এই কষ্টখিনি যে 3 মাহৰ 4 মাহৰ কষ্টখিনি 10-12 ঘণ্টা সেইখিনি যে ছাষ্টেইন কৰিব অসুবিধা হয়, এইটো পাহৰি যায়। এণ্ড দেট ৰিলেটেড টু দ্য ইণ্টাৰেষ্ট এণ্ড পাৰ্চনেলিটি অফ দ্য চাইল্ড। এইখিনিতো আমি এপ্টিটিউডটো বুজি পালোঁ, কিন্তু এট দ্য ছেইম টাইম এভৰি চাইল্ড হেজ এন ইণ্টাৰেষ্ট, মাল্টিপল ডিফাৰেণ্ট ইণ্টাৰেষ্ট হ'ব পাৰে যোনটো আমি কনচলিডেট কৰিব লাগে। এভৰি চাইল্ড অলছ' হেজ দেয়াৰ অ'ন পাৰ্চনেলিটি। এতিয়া আমি মানে পাৰ্চনেলিটি বেলেগ হ'ব পাৰে, হেৰি কৰিব পাৰে, বাট স্কুল উই ট্ৰাই টু পুট দেম ইন টু ওৱান কাইণ্ড অফ পাৰ্চনেলিটি, হেবিটছবোৰ আমি এক্ট কৰিব পাৰোঁ। কিন্তু ইটছ ভেৰি আইৰনিক, বিকজ আমি ডাঙৰ হোৱাৰ পিছত আমি এষ্ট্ৰলজাৰ ওচৰত যাওঁ, ভাৰ্গ, কন্যা ৰাশি, ধনু ৰাশি, এইবোৰ চব বেলেগ বেলেগ পাৰ্চনেলিটি লৈ পেলাই আমি বিচাৰোঁ যে আমাৰ পাৰ্চনেলিটি এইটো কাৰণে আমি ৱাই নট ডিউৰিং স্কুল, চ' যেতিয়া আমি পাৰ্চনেলিটিটো বুজি নাপাওঁ তেতিয়া দেন দ্য মিষ্টেক হেপেন্স, এণ্ড ছেকেণ্ড ইজ অফক'ৰ্ছ দেট ৰিচাৰ্চখিনি ভালকৈ কৰা নহয়। যে এতিয়া যদি মই মেডিচিন পঢ়িব যাওঁ মোৰ কিমান পইচা খৰচ হ'ব পাৰে, জাষ্ট মেডিচিন পঢ়িলে বুলিয়েতো নহ'ব, ইউ হেভ টু হেভ দেট এফৰ্ডেবিলিটি। এতিয়া প্ৰাইভেট ইউনিভাৰ্চিটিবোৰত ইণ্ডিয়াতে 20 lakhs plus per year, minimum. If it's a government institute also, I mean anywhere between 30,000 to 1 to 1.5 lakhs tuition fee, plus to living expenses buru ase. So that means if you're a lower middle class family in India whose family income is close to 5 to 6 lakhs, right? That jodi government institute of medicine pohibo parleo to amar 3 lakhs মান তো যাবই, ঘৰত চব খোৱা বোৱা মিলাই পেলাই। তো সেই এফৰ্ডেবিলিটিটো আছে নে নাই সেইটো ফেমিলিত, সেইটোও চাব লাগিব। চ' চামটাইমছ আই হেভ চিন ষ্টুডেণ্টছ অলছ' হু গেট ইন টু গ্ৰেট ইউনিভাৰ্চিটিজ, বাট পেৰেণ্টছে এনকাৰেজ কৰে যে তই এপ্লাই কৰ, বাট যেতিয়া পায় তেতিয়া পেৰেণ্টছক ফাইনেন্সিয়েল ক্ষমতা নাথাকে যে
that is another, like, is it because sorry to cut you off, but হেৰি মানে okay, now তুমি you came to know কি মই এনেই জেনেৰিক এইটো ছাবজেক্ট বিচাৰিছোঁ, হা, যিটো একচুৱেলি বহুতৰ নহয়গৈ, হা, বাট এগেইন ইফ ইউ আৰ স্পেণ্ডিং ছ' মাছ অফ মানি ইটছ বেটাৰ টু বি এটলিষ্ট হেভ এন আইডিয়া কি ৱেৰ ইয়ৰ ইণ্টাৰেষ্ট আৰ, তুমি সেইটোৱে ক'ব বিচাৰিছা, হয় নহয়? চ' এনিৱে মিনছ লাইক মেট্ৰিকত মই মেথছত বা ছায়েন্সত বহুত ভাল পালোঁ বুলিয়ে বহুতে 11-12তো ছায়েন্স লৈ লয়, চ' সেইটো ভুল হৈ যায়,
মেবি নট দ্য ইণ্টাৰেষ্ট, পাৰ্চনেলিটি মেথছ নহয়, ইয়া।
চ' ছেকেণ্ডলি মানে নাও এগেইন তুমি লাষ্টৰ পইণ্টটো যে ক'লা, now is it only for the rich people studying abroad?
No, that is what I'm trying to say from my story also. I'm not rich. I was never rich. I'm trying to be. We all are. But we're not there yet.
Sure.
But see, I mean, if you have to dream big firstly. That is the first step. What we call as, aspiration, basically, right? We aspire, we have to aspire. Then what we call as, we have to perspire also to get that aspiration, right? So এই পাৰ্চপিৰেশ্যনটো কৰিবা যদি তুমি পইচা দি পেলাই হয় বা নিজে কষ্ট কৰি পেলাই হয়, ইউ হেভ টু ন' দ্য পাথৱে। এতিয়া পাথৱেটো কেনেকৈ ক'ব? ইদাৰ ইউ ডু ইয়ৰ অ'ন ৰিচাৰ্চ, or you come to professionals like us, or maybe there are professors like teachers also within the school, or you go to professors outside. For example, you are an Air Force pilot, ex-Air Force pilot, for example. If somebody wants to know about how to get into that whole juncture of Air Force, then if somebody comes to me also, I'll not be able to give that full details. It's better I recommend somebody to you.
Yeah, understood.
So then the parents and the students themselves also have to have that onus to find these people, to get the right information. As soon as we get the right information, then we'll easily be able to get into any college across the world.
Plus during our time, like or your time also, Google or the YouTube and all these things were not there. Right now, nowadays it's all in the fingertips also.
Exactly. So you just have to Google it or ChatGPT it, and you'll get the whole detail about how to do things, what kind of scholarships exist. আৰু পৃথিৱীত অসংখ্য scholarships আছে. They are looking, every university is looking for good students. So if you feel that you're a good student, consistently doing well academically, consistently, holistically, let's say, developed student who has empathy and kindness as a character, who has proactiveness as a character, who has curiosity, curious mind as a character, who has hard work and effort as a character. I mean, I mean, forget universities, even employers will be happy to get those kind of people, right? So at school, we have to get into character building, actually.
Understood.
Sometimes education system also misses out on this part of it, because this cannot be measured, actually. আমাক quantify কৰিব নোৱাৰো এই বস্তুখিনি। Empathy can I quantify কৰিব? তুমি কেইজন মানে গৈ পেলাই, so these are personality based things, you know, but eventually এতিয়া মানে কামতো we want to work with those people who have these qualities, you know.
আৰু মই কি সুধিছোঁ, লাইক ইয়াত there is a difference between the admission process which is outside, and because তাত এটা profile building এটা হয়, you need you have to show certain, say, leadership qualities or some kind of to initiative লৈছা কিবা, whereas because you have to write an essay which is not, I'm not sure আজিকালি Indian University আছে নেকি?
Indian University আছে. So
can you explain that process?
So correct. So the reason why I'm discussing so many from different angles is because I wanted to lead into that answer only, as you have asked. This whole concept of discussing, researching, doing multiple activities, consolidating the amount of activities from 20 to 4, this is what we call as profile building. Okay. Now when we say profile building, we are basically trying to improve the characterization of the student.
Okay.
Whether it happens through the school, whether it happens through the family, whether it happens by the student individually working on themselves, doesn't really matter. We are constructively looking to improve ourselves or the students, basically. So hetu hisabat the foreign universities look at the holistic student. Now when we talk about a holistic profile of a student, academics, number one, academic co-curricular activities. যোনবোৰ আমি academic co-curricular activities মানে তোমাৰ SAT, IELTS, NEET, JEE, all these are academic co-curricular activities.
Okay.
Internship, online courses, micro certifications, you know, তুমি hackathon ক'ৰবাত গ'লা, these are all academic co-curricular activities that adds to the value of your academics.
To SAT দিব লাগে, I'm just SAT দিয়াটো important নেকি?
It's important depending on the country.
Okay.
It depends on
it adds to your academic co-curricular.
It has to. I mean, for some universities it's compulsory, some countries it's compulsory, some maybe not. So different countries, different universities will have their own eligibility criteria. For example, India too, it has a NMIMS যদি পঢ়িব যোৱা হয় বিজনেছৰ কাৰণে, then most have to give NPAT বুলি exam এটা, IIMS পঢ়িব গ'লে CAT দিয়া যায়, বা কিছুমানে ISB পঢ়িলে CAT দিব পাৰে, GMAT দিব পাৰে, for example. So there's different universities have their own entrances. So similarly abroad too, different universities will have their own entrance test, aptitude test, so that is under that whole umbrella of academic co-curricular activities. So extracurriculars extracurriculars we are talking about 4 types of activities. Creative, action, service oriented, or leadership. Creative is something that, you know, improves your creative mindset. And dance is creative, playing the piano is creative, doing debates is creative, painting, art, that is all creative. Action meaning, you know, physically you want to be active, which is also important because you want to be fit. Whether it's yoga, whether it's gym, playing cricket, football, swimming, dance also is a action oriented activity. Then, and that helps our physicality, while the creative actions help our mentality. Then we want to improve our empathy and kindness, which happens through service-oriented activities. Whether joining the Junior Lions Club, Leo Club or something like that, Junior Red Cross, whether you work for an NGO or you're doing some peer tutoring, all these things that you're helping out people to develop society, develop your community and so on, we call them service-oriented activities. So those also aid to our profile. And last is leadership. Now leadership can, as a school student, leadership can happen from multiple different ways. That all to me school council, or school leadership, prefect body, school captain, etc. Extremely good at an activity, academics, academic co-curricular, by extracurricular, and you can be a leader within that. Also. So debating, no better. Debating, you can be debating captain. Or যেতিয়া তুমি এটা বস্তু মানে practice কৰি গৈ থাকিবা, multiple times কৰিবা, obviously other people look up to you. You know. So that is how we build that profile of a student. So ekni korote time lage. Obviously you have to give yourself 3-4 years. Our foreign university last 4 years of a student is on a ki korise, they look at that.
Last 4 years.
Last 4 years. So that means 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th for bachelors. For masters, whole of bachelors. And most engineering courses were 4 বছৰ. Aikali notun NEP mote We have these 3-year programs can also be converted to 4 years. So the last 4 years is critical for foreign universities. So hetu karone that profile building activity happens in the last 4 years.
But how do you prove keneke kora? How do you show them?
Lot of the things can be shown through certificates. তুমি online course কৰিলা তাৰ certification পালা. But universities don't ask for it, because যেতিয়া interview লব, it can be easily found out that what is what. যেতিয়া essay লিখিবা,
you have to write those essays, right?
You have to write about that also. And it's not only you.
And recommendations also.
Exactly. So recommendation letters যোনবোৰ যায় স্কুলৰ পৰা বা তুমি internship, তেওঁলোকেতো মিছা মাতিব নোৱাৰে. I mean, they should not.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So then সেইটো corroborating factor এটা হৈ যায় যে হৈছে নে নাই actually. So with that way মানে ইহঁতি corroborate কৰিব পাৰে. আৰু তুমি যদি কৈছা বোলে আচ্ছা মই এইটো NGO লগত কাম কৰিছোঁ, this that, I mean, everything is online now. Everybody can just Google and figure out whether you've actually worked or not.
Yeah.
তুমি যদি কৈছা মই ভাল hackathon জিকিছোঁ, জিকিছোঁ, বা কিবা এইটো Commonwealth স্কলাৰশ্বিপৰ কিবা ৱৰ্ল্ড স্কলাৰ্ছ কাপত কিবা এটা পাইছোঁ, নেশ্যনেল ৰেংক, অলিম্পিয়াডৰ নেশ্যনেল ৰেংক, those information is available online. People will verify naturally. And this can be easily figured out if there's red flags. এতিয়া যদি তুমি 9, 10 বোলে 80%, 11ত 85%, 12তো মানে predicted grades are like 90% পাইছেগে আৰু. But you said that you have won the national math Olympiad. At least question mark এটাতো থাকিব যে সেইখিনি যদি জিকিছ তো স্কুলৰ কিয় ভাল কৰিব পৰা নাই. So those can be easily figured out. The university counselor সকলো, I mean, they've been reading so many applications year on, they get easily a sense and as to who's what. And secondly, they also understand the school. So that their school kunba application puthiaye, then they research on the school also. They actually junbur kotha koa hoise application khonot activities co-curricular, he school khon actually provide korise na nai kora. আগৰ ষ্টুডেণ্ট কোনোবা লেগেচি ষ্টুডেণ্ট আছে নাই সেইখন স্কুলৰ পৰা যে এপ্লাই কৰিছিলে, সিহঁতৰ প্ৰফাইলটো কেনেকুৱা. চ' দে হেভ অল দ'জ ৰেকৰ্ডছ. চ' দেট ৱে ইট হেল্পছ বেচিকলি ফৰ দেম টু জাজ হু দে শুড এডমিট. আৰু এণ্ড ওৱান্স দে এডমিট দেন দে লুক এট দ্য ফাইনেন্সিয়েল এইড বা স্কলাৰশ্বিপ পাৰ্ট অফ ইট. সিহঁতে কেতিয়াবা ফাইনেন্সিয়েল এইডৰ বেচিকলি পেৰেণ্টছৰ পৰা ইনকাম টেক্স ৰিপৰ্ট ডকুমেণ্টছবোৰ খোজে. যদি তুমি কোৱা যে মোক পইচা লাগে, আই কান এফৰ্ড দ্য হোল ষ্টাডিজ বেচিকলি, which is what we call as financial aid. So যেতিয়া সিহঁতে realize কৰে যে আচ্ছা this student is meritorious, but he or she does not have the money to spend, then they will try to meet those demands
from the college itself.
Or they direct you to external scholarships, or they will already say that our scholarship value kini imane at the max, and then that information is also critical. When তুমি যদি জানা যে scholarship ইমান খিনিয়ে পাম, but if it's out of your budget, then you should not apply to that college.
Understood.
So that is why you need that mentoring. That's why you need that guidance also at times. By your own research, basically. Some people don't have time to do research, therefore they come to people like us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
now the next question is like, what are the good colleges? Now to me, you start exploring from 9 itself. To me, how to build your profile. Now, is it always US, UK? What about Southeast Asia, Australia, and all these?
Yeah, correct. So this is again related to the whole idea of timeline. Timeline to discuss but I'll bring it along with the countries itself.
Okay.
So now you are allowed to study anywhere across the world, inclusive of India. Bangladesh, Nepal, India, South Asia, Singapore, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Vietnam. In their own right, they have good education institutions. Otherwise, the country would not have progressed.
Yeah,
naturally.
Yeah.
But we look up to certain kinds of education as the uppermost layer of the quality of education in the world. US definitely, Canada definitely, UK, Ireland definitely, Australia, New Zealand definitely, Singapore, Hong Kong definitely. Yeah. So these are countries that teach you in English. But we also have other countries that teach in their own language, and they are still super duper great in terms of universities and quality of education. Germany, France, Netherlands. A lot of them have their English speaking courses also, but both kini especially at the bachelor's level, local language at pohay. Because obviously every country will look out for their own citizens first.
You went during graduation?
I went for bachelor's.
Oh,
but I
honey.
went to an English medium university
In Germany itself.
in Germany.
Okay.
Yeah. So those things are
Oh,
obviously
you can
there.
choose
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. That's
mode
right.
of instruction.
Not mode of instruction. That course will have that mode of instruction already there.
Oh.
So সেইটো তুমি ৰিচাৰ্চ কৰিব লাগিব যে
Oh,
এইটো
okay.
যদি মই কম্পিউটাৰ চায়েন্স পঢ়িব যাওঁ
Okay.
যে সেই কোৰ্চটো মোৰ পিয়ৰলি ইংলিছত হ'ব নে কিবা জাৰ্মানত হ'ব নে ক'ত হ'ব so once you have that information then you decide to put in the application.
And you got scholarship?
Yes, I think luckily all my life I've always been on scholarship 100% almost. In fact, I think for masters I got paid to do my masters also because I was doing a research masters. So the data that I was researching on was also used for this climate science and stuff like that.
Understood.
So it was about, and again, this I did not know while I was in India. When I went there, I realized that something like this exists.
Okay.
So then you have to constantly explore to figure out ki soli ase, like code ki pam. That's why I'm in my curious mind. You have to constantly explore.
Yeah.
But if you digress from that path a little bit, then of course, I mean, it's not going to work out.
Understood.
Net. So enako opportunity jetia poa jai, then you have to grab it.
But US is the most costliest.
Yeah, so in terms, US is the most costliest, that's true. So government and private, so public-private universities. So public universities will probably cost you, I'm talking of inclusive of living expenses or tuition fee. So we budget at least about 40 lakhs for the US for a public university.
40 lakhs per year?
Per year.
Okay.
And if you're looking at private universities, then it will probably go up from 55 lakhs onwards in the US.
Okay.
Okay. Now this is without scholarships and without financing.
That is just the tuition fees.
No, this is inclusive of living expenses.
Oh, inclusive. Okay.
So তার মানে যদি scholarship পোৱা যায়, then it eats up into it. You know, I have students with New York University on full scholarship. You know, who and New York University costs like 90 lakhs per year. So ইমানখিনি পইচাও দিবলৈ মানে ৰাজি আছে.
But what about the staying expenses? Like,
see, staying expenses.
You get extra work.
Yeah, you can do student jobs. Every country allows you to do student jobs, except maybe for Japan, Korea, all of restriction ase. Baki, almost every country has some student job issues, not non-issues. Basically, that means you can work as a student. Minimum wage eta thake. Most students work in library or as a student assistant or research assistant. Intern in a lab, or professor's assistant, and so on, teaching assistant and stuff. So তেনেকুৱা বহুতখিনি job কৰি পেলাই living expenses to উলিয়াই ল'ব পাৰে. A little bit more difficult for bachelor student কাৰণ ইহঁতেতো ইমান এটা experience নহয় যে teaching assistant বা research assistant job এটা ল'ব পাৰে. But student assistant, library, gym, কলেজত যি আছে, they can always work. You know, বহুতে campus ambassador হৈ পেলাই young students, first, second years, campus ambassador because they just arrive to campus so they can integrate the newer students better. So tenako job thake. So everything that you do abroad, you usually get paid. That's the bottom line of it. Setu karone student job ebor pipeline bohote mane kore tenako. Once you sort out the finances, then it's very easy to live life. Or generally, roughly, we look at minimum 12 lakhs per year for living expenses anywhere you go across the world.
Okay. What about these colleges? How good are, say, Singapore, Hong Kong, or even Thailand, Vietnam, Philippines?
So Thailand, Vietnam, Philippines.
Because Southeast Asia is coming up.
Hong Kong and Singapore are they have universities in the top 50 of the world.
Yeah. Also. Singapore, the NUS, NTU are top.
Too good.
Yeah.
Hong Kong also, HKU, UST, CUHK, City University of Hong Kong. All that is super duper university.
Hong Kong is the mode China based or it's like English only?
No, it's not British anymore. It is governed by...
But mode of instruction and all?
No, English.
Okay.
English. It's primarily English speaking. So that influence is still there in schools and colleges. But they have their Chinese programs and stuff like that. And Chinese medium instruction also. So Singapore, Hong Kong obviously are good, and these will cost you maybe about 35 lakhs per year. Okay. UK will cost you about 40 lakhs per year.
UK 40 lakhs?
Yeah. Okay. Australia, New Zealand will cost you within that space of 35 to 40 lakhs per year. And when I say this, I'm talking of good universities. Okay, I'm talking of top 150.
And it will also differ for what you choose to study.
Minor differences, yes.
Okay.
So computer science and engineering usually cost a little bit higher, mechanical, because there's so much equipments, labs, infrastructure involved, and those courses cost slightly higher.
Okay.
But if you're studying a business program or if you're studying a history program, then they might cost you a little lower.
Okay.
Basically.
Plus the living expense.
No, I'm talking of
Including,
inclusive of
okay.
all the figures I've said today are all inclusive of living expense.
I was checking actually, like the NUS economics, the fees was around 14 lakhs per
Plus
annum.
16 to 18 lakhs is living expense. Singapore is expensive.
Okay, that's very expensive. Yeah. What about Hong Kong? Is also equal expensive?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why I said 35. So their fees is 18 lakhs, but living expenses because of that.
Equal.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why. So if you go to, let's say, Germany, for example, I lived there for close to 10 years. So Germany public universities, a lot of them are free of cost to study.
Okay. No, but not for foreign students.
No, for foreign students also. Any student doesn't
Oh,
really
really?
matter. Yeah. সেইকাৰণে so বহুতে এতিয়া জাৰ্মানী যাব বিচাৰি আছে আৰু ডিমাণ্ডবোৰ ইমান বাঢ়ি গ'ল that but Germany cannot admit anybody below 90%.
90% marks
consistency.
Oh,
So it has 9.0 CGPA যদি নাই, Germany কেনে পাব? Just imagine somebody, country like Germany is giving you free education. Core application আহিব.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Also, like, can your co-curricular like complement or supplement your
Academic
excellence?
co-curriculars, yes, to an extent. Like যোনটো SAT test বা GRE বা GMAT, they also showcase your aptitude.
No,
but it cannot be a substitute. It can supplement or complement.
No, what about
supplement? Complement.
Suppose you are a very good, say, Bharatanatyam dancer, or suppose you are a national level badminton player, and you apply for a, say, economics course in Germany, but your may not be like 9 CGPA or 9 GPA, whatever, like, and your is around, say, 8 or 7, 8, but you are a national level. Does it help?
It really depends on the university, because ultimately universities are education.
Like we have sports quota, no? Like I was asking.
So universities are academic in nature.
Understood.
Right. So if it's an academic university, then what is the guarantee that you'll do academically well, even if you're from the sports background?
Okay. Understood.
But if there's a university, like there's a lot of universities in the US which take up athletes, like what we have in India, sports quota. Tattoo ase. But it's not sports quota. You have to prove yourself that you're very good. You have to send audition videos. You have to perform at a very high level. Then they will get you admitted through the athlete program.
Understood.
And those athletes then can choose what major they want to do. But that is primarily US, Canada to all of us. But other countries, not so much.
The final question now. After you have spent so much of money, gone there, what about the ROI? Means what you don't get a job then?
Yeah, for me it was, ROI is good because I hardly spend money.
Yeah, okay.
But for students who spend exorbitant amounts of money, I think if you end up going to a good college, not just because of going abroad for the sake of going abroad, then the ROI will always be good if you're going to a good college. And also, even if you go into an Oxford or Harvard and you don't work hard, obviously you'll not get that job. So just by getting into a university does not mean that you'll automatically crack it in life. So you have to still work hard eventually for your goals and dreams. So that's why that creating that goals and dreams, which is not necessarily a university, is so important. The India to sabo gole ba Assam to sabo gole এনেকুৱা নহয় যে মানে যোনে successful হৈছে লাইফত financially বা মানে family wise বা whatever in the entrepreneurial journey বা at work and professionally, সবেতো একদম ভাল ইউনিভাৰ্চিটিটো পঢ়া নাই। আনকি if you look at the very good businessmen across India, some of them have not even studied school.
That is another question, right? Like anyway.
So that basically means that these people have found out the idea of how to find success in life without having gone to school.
Means asile they realize their potentiality later.
Exactly.
But again, like lot of people might say ki no, ami jodi iman manu example ase june without going abroad or without going to a top college, they have done so well. But again, like what means, like these colleges, they provide you a launch pad, and give you a different kind of an exposure, right?
Exactly. That's why people are running after IIMs, even if it's so expensive.
Yeah.
Right. Because once you get there, you get to meet the kind of people who would probably propagate your life. It's a ভাল university there, because you get into a university where the mindset of the people are already very different and much higher. They're thinking constructively all the time. And you want to have people around that kind in your life. যেনে তোমাক যদি মানে ফ্যামিলিয়ে হওক বা ৰিলেটিভছে হওক বা ফ্ৰেণ্ড চাৰ্কেলে হওক, if they're not letting you progress, তুমি নতুন কিবা আইডিয়া এটা ক'বা and they're like এইটো হ'ব জানো, instead of saying that কৰি চাচোন হ'বও পাৰে, so you have to get into that circle, and this circle generally exists at top universities and top schools, which generally are expensive, unfortunately. So that is the cycle, and as I said, and I always tell all my students also, like I said, I don't have any problem announcing it, that you'll only find success if you work for it, no matter the institution, no matter the circumstances. If you don't, then you will not. So you have to then therefore understand the whole idea of the circumstances also, which is something that we call as SWOT analysis. Strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. This is something that you need to do when you're in grade 9th and 10th itself.
Okay.
Strength and weaknesses are internal bostu. More strength ki ase, more weakness ki hoy. Ekini parents e kobo pare ba nije kobo pare, but if you sit with a professional like us, then we can talk about it after 2-3 sessions ki ase ki nai. We can conduct psychometric tests, career assessment tests, ebro hoy. And so these are internal. So I can say that, okay, my strength is patience, I'm curious, I'm empathetic. But my weakness is that I'm lazy, I procrastinate. So if I know that I am lazy and procrastinate, I have to find ways to get over that. Right? Now, when we look at opportunities and threats, we are talking of external events and circumstances that may or may not be under your control. The opportunity at Assam Valley School of Kampale. I did not choose that, but I got that opportunity, and I made good use of it. That when I realized that there's this course in IB full scholarship, Mahindra United World College, I took that opportunity, but it was not mine to take. I tried to take it, right, and I was successful. So that way, kismaner threats thake. My threat was that I did not have money in the family, so therefore I had to overcome that threat. Therefore, I had to find ways. So এই বস্তুখিনি যদি ক্লাছ আৰু 9-10 students nowadays 15-16 year olds are quite mature. They understand these kind of things. Even 11-12 students also understand. So once you understand these, and more often than you'll realize that the qualities that you had, even if you sit down today, later on, or ask anybody, and when you sit down and think or meditate or just think silently that more class 10th more qualities kenekwa asile, more thought process kenekwa asile, more often than not you realize that more characters do eke ase. So at that point of time, if you plan ki acha moi enekwa hobo bisaru, mo character ki enekwa, moi etu character hobo bisaru, then more often than not you'll find that success. Generally that's what I have come to believe after 10-14 years of experience of working with children.
So with that note, আমি তোমাৰ লগত আৰু will have like discussed, we'll have several other sessions, and for our viewers also, it's just an exposure how to go about thinking about studying abroad.
Correct.
It is also why you want to join that college or why you want to study abroad is very important, right?
Yes.
Because you are going to spend so much of money, and in fact the college, like when I had gone to my MBA interview, it is very important for the college to know why I want to do that MBA, how it will enhance your career.
Yes.
I think it's the same
for most foreign universities, and it's the same for most modern age Indian universities also. The modern age liberal arts universities that we have in India now, and a lot of the foreign universities that have also built campuses in India now. Slowly they're doing that. So starting from Sulini or Ashoka, Jindal, Kriya, Flame, Ahmedabad University, all of these universities generally also look at that factor, which is typically for abroad universities.
Yeah, so lastly I just wanted to ask, what about can these colleges like some Ashoka or the Flames, are they going to fill up that gap for the foreign universities?
They are to an extent, for sure. I think at least with them coming in and with the vision that they have come in with their founders and vice chancellors and chancellors and so on, I think it is going good, because a lot of the university, and of course hats off to the Indian government also for creating the NEP. It's taking longer than expected to, for all of us to follow it in schools and institutions and so on, but it is slowly happening. So and we work with a lot of these students from these universities, because more often than not, after they've studied at these liberal arts colleges, they are looking to go abroad also, for their masters. And actually, bahut rasali India পৰা বেছিভাগ মাষ্টাৰ্ছৰ কাৰণে যায় the ratio is maybe 20% to 80% or 25 to 75 25% after class 12 and 75% would go for the masters কাৰণ কম সময় লাগে you are spending less money affordability to ভালকে থাকে immediately after masters the chances of getting a job is much higher and so on কাৰণ bachelor's কৰাৰ পিছত masters এনেও কৰিব লাগিব so then if somebody is going abroad for bachelor's they're looking at not just 4-year experience but 6 years
okay
so hey financial planning to parents or tenakake lagibo so in that manner I think slowly the Indian education system is also changing you know because earlier we did not have too much competition actually you know etia jeto bahir university influence aise this modern age universities also come in everybody has taken notice even the public institutes etia within public institutes also there is obviously ranking je moi NIT kunkhon NIT jam ba moi kunkhon IIT jam tier 1 na tier 2 na tier 3 ba IIM kun kikhonot jam tier 1 na tier 2 and sometimes students will say that na moi sir moi heri VIT palu SRM palu kintu IIT moi tier 2 he palu moi VIT ke jaoge niki you know so then people are researching people are figuring out the more placements code bhalo hobo moi mane hekhon university poha pisot moi যদি মাষ্টাৰ্ছ কৰিব আছে তাৰ পৰা মই কোনটো ইউনিভাৰ্চিটিত যাব পাৰিম বাহিৰত বা ইণ্ডিয়াতে থাকিলে বা ইণ্ডিয়াত থাকিলে প্লেচমেণ্ট ক'ত হয় এণ্ড ছ' অন ছ' দিজ ইনফৰ্মেশ্যন দিজ ডেটা ইজ এভেইলেবল আৰু যোনবোৰে চাই পেলাই গৈছে দেন দে হেভ চ'জন ৱেল যোনবোৰে ব্লাইণ্ডলি গুচি গৈছে এইটো VIT নাম শুনিছোঁ ভালেই শুনিছে ভেলৰত আছে চেন্নাইত আছে পাই যাম আৰু মোৰ অফটেন দেন নট দ'জ আৰ দ্য পিপল হু আৰ ষ্ট্ৰাগলিং I feel, you know, and that's my take, but maybe not. I haven't seen to get that data.
Okay, thanks Abhinav for the lovely conversation.
Yeah.
And we'll have many more of this. And for all our viewers, you can contact him directly. I'll give his phone number also. So he will be the ideal guide for you for your future to study abroad. Thanks again, Abhinav.
Thank you.
Ako, আমি এটো এনেকুৱা other episodes কৰি থাকিম
definitely I think we should just ask the viewers as to if they have certain topics that they want us to discuss let's say for example how to get scholarships only in the US
okay
or how to get the Commonwealth scholarship
okay
but for parents also যে আমি financial planning to my class 9 পৰা কেনেকৈ কৰিম কোনটো ইনষ্ট্ৰুমেণ্টত কি ইনভেষ্ট কৰিম কি কথা or if all those things can actually be discussed
episode wise
definitely if you're willing
absolutely of course thanks again and thank you
thank you